3, 2, and 1. Now flex your foot, take it to the back, reach out with your outside hand, keep your foot flexed. 5, 4,
We'll call to order the City Council special meeting agenda for Monday, December the 8th, 2025 at 4 o'clock p.m. Roll call certification of quorum. Madam Secretary is certified we have a quorum present, as all members are present with the exception of Member Chavarria, who did inform me she'll be a little bit late, so we can document when she gets here. Moving forward, citizens' comments. There were no comments, request to speak turned in. Moving to item 4, new business discussion regarding the capital improvement program CIP update series, water and wastewater. With that, we'll kick it over to the staff. Lorenzo, are you going to lead it out?
Yes, sir.
Good deal.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. Tonight's presentation will be our CIP update series that covers water and wastewater. And as we typically try to start the presentations off, we put a graphic in front of you guys to show how you guys' strategic priorities tie into our processes to make Pearland the community of choice, with the foundation of it all being trusted government and resilient finances, the what being the inner workings of mostly what we do day to day, making it a safe community, strong economy, sustainable infrastructure, and connected community, ultimately rounding everything out with making Pearland that community of choice. So as we go through the presentation today, you guys will see our future with the purpose, CIP approval and budget impacts, and discussions of water, wastewater distributions and collections, O&M and CIP. So back to our future with the purpose, why we do the things we do is based off of you guys' strategic priorities. I know we'll have a meeting workshop with you guys coming up in a few months that outlines your strategic priorities, which sets the foundation for what we do in terms of strategic planning. There's a few documents that we use to guide the CIP, which starts off with the comprehensive plan. And from there, we kind of jump into more specialized plans, more specific plans. Related to this presentation, we'll have the water master plan, wastewater master plan. With the water master plan currently being updated in the process, the wastewater master plan will be updated in calendar year 26. You guys just voted on amendments and modifications to the thoroughfare plan, and the parks master plan is also in the process of being updated. You guys kind of got some updates on the parks master plan last month with the last parks presentation. All of those plans we use to develop and implement projects that come out of those into the CIP and ultimately make up what this presentation is about and based on. So right now we are in the first quarter, wrapping up the first quarter of the CIP process. We've already requested new projects, and the different stakeholders, different user groups have submitted projects to the CIP team. And in January, we'll start the internal meetings of reviewing projects and really shaping and molding the 5-year CIP, modifying and reprioritizing projects and developing that to get it back to you guys around the 3rd and 4th quarter of the CIP year. And the next presentations that we'll have in front of you guys, like I mentioned a minute ago, we've already covered parks and facilities. Today we're going to go through water and wastewater. The next time you guys will hear from us will be for the transportation and drainage update before we come back to you guys with the CIP workshop to round off the calendar in June. And at this time, I'll pass the presentation over to Ms. Erica Weekly for updates on the budget impacts.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. I'll review the key milestones and budgetary implications related to the fiscal year 26 capital improvement plan. Earlier this year, on September 8th, City Council approved the fiscal year 26 capital improvement plan. This approval outlines the planned infrastructure investments and major projects for the upcoming fiscal year. Then on October 13th, Council approved the intent to reimburse for fiscal year 26. This step allows us to begin spending on approved projects up to the listed amounts, even before the actual debt is issued. It's important to note that while this authorization lets projects move forward, Council still needs to approve the awards for each individual project as they come up. Looking ahead to May 2026, we expect to complete the fiscal year debt sale. The timing of this sale is significant because any debt issued in fiscal year 26 will affect the fiscal year 27 debt rate. Similarly, if we make changes to the fiscal year 27 capital improvement plan, those adjustments will influence the fiscal year 28 debt rate. Finally, it's important to remember that operations and maintenance costs are built into each CIP project. These costs are included in the budget. During the year, the project becomes operational. We also incorporate these ongoing expenses into our multi-year budget forecast and rate model to ensure long-term financial stability. This slide details the updated rate impact analysis. The projected increases range from 2% to 16.7%. The bond coverage ratio and reserve requirements are met throughout the FY 26 through 30 period. An updated rate model will be presented during the CIP workshop in June of 2026. Now I'll pass it to Fabiola.
Thank you, Ms. Weekly. Good afternoon, Mayor and Council members. I'm happy to be here once again to present you with our water and wastewater capital projects update series. We have a lot of projects to cover today. Council, as you're all familiar by now, we launched the capital projects webpage for public viewing in January of this year. This page was created to promote consistency and transparency in reporting and tracking active projects. The landing page features an interactive map highlighting project locations throughout the city of Pearland. Currently, there are approximately 80 projects listed, each including key details such as project updates, budgets, design and construction timelines, if applicable, and project manager contact information for questions. Project updates are provided on a quarterly basis. We have a lot of projects to cover today, as I mentioned, and we will start on the water projects. On the next slides, we'll look at the water projects that have been completed under design or construction, the ones starting in fiscal year 26, as well as anticipated future projects. This table is a snapshot of the recently approved budget amounts for the fiscal year 2026 capital improvement program and the projected totals for fiscal years from 27 through 30. Overall, the 5-year program totals out to approximately $109 million. Council, as you're aware, the fiscal year 26 represents the budget approved by Council. Future year budgets are listed for financial planning purposes and can be increased or decreased depending on city count needs, Council's direction, and funding availability. This slide includes projects with water and wastewater funding rates. Keep in mind that as we start developing the next 5-year CIP, the recommended projects for fiscal year 27 will be the ones that will impact the water and wastewater rates for fiscal year 28 and so forth. So let's talk about some of the accomplishments attained by the completion of these projects. We had 6 projects completed in 2025, and this could have not happened if not through collaboration of multiple departments, especially the Capital Projects Division and the Pearland Water Department. We also show on this slide the approximate total project cost. Out of the completed projects, I would like to highlight the Bailey Water plant improvements. This project aimed to address iron and manganese, which occur naturally in groundwater, but neither elements cause health effects at concentrations found in Pearland. But they sometimes have a rusty visual impact on the water quality. So to officially remove the iron and manganese, the city installed aerators removal systems. Although this project experienced some delayed challenges, we completed the project approximately $268,000 under budget, and the facility has been providing quality water to the east side of Pearland. Since its commissioning in early 25, the water quality throughout the Bailey Road and Veterans Drive corridor has vastly improved. This improvement has resulted in decreased water system maintenance to ensure optimal water quality. The water lines replacement project at South Corrigan neighborhood replaced approximately 3.5 miles of transit water lines to PVC. Transit pipe water line has a failure rate significantly higher than PVC pipes and are also responsible for a higher percentage of work orders per foot and require greater resources to maintain relative to PVC. This project was completed, experienced some delays, but still was completed within budget. This water well is located at the Country Place development, which was annexed to the city in 2012, where city inherited various assets, including this water well. The water well at Country Place had existing natural gas generator that was over 19 years old. This generator failed multiple times during Winter Storm Uri in February of 2021. At the time, an evaluation of the cost of repairs deemed too expensive and not cost-effective, and replacement was evaluated as the best alternative, which was completed in July of this year. Because of manufacturer lead times, the generator took over 1 year to be delivered. This project was completed with approximately $96,000 over budget. Staff that managed this project is no longer with the city, but while doing an investigation as to why this project came over budget, it seemed that when this budget was developed in 2022, the numbers were not really on par with the market at the time and its oscillations. The actual engineer's cost was approximately $740,000, but I don't think the information was transferred to the budget office to have the numbers updated, hence the overage. But anyway, this project was completed, has ensured that this production facility will provide continuous water production operations during emergency conditions. Differently than the Country Place well generator, this well facility did not have natural gas installed. So all the necessary to install gas service to this facility was also part of this project, necessary to install the gas generator. This generator replacement project ensures continuous water production operations during emergency conditions. This project was approximately $60,000 over budget. Again, I want to say the overage happened for the same reason as the Country Place well project, because the engineer's estimate was approximately $804,000. Nonetheless, the project was completed in July of this year. However, a small scope related to landscaping irrigation to be added to this project is being worked on to comply with city's community development code requirements. This slide shows the current project and design phase except for the water master plan update, which is a study. The completion year listed here means the anticipated design completion, and design budget was the budgeted amount approved by FOR Design. Some of these projects have been combined with others to better allocate funding and city's resources in consideration of residents' inconveniencing. These projects are the FM 518 Utilities Relocations Phase 1, which has been combined with the Phase 2 portion, and also with the wastewater, which we'll be talking about a little later. Creekview and Shady Crest Transit Pipe Waterline Replacement, which has been combined with the drainage portion funded by the 2023 bond program, and the wastewater portion, which is also, we will also be mentioning later. The southwest quadrant of Old Town Transit Waterline Replacement, which was also included, it also included the drainage portion funded by the 2023 GEO bond. And here are some of the projects I would like to highlight that are currently under design. The FM 518 utility relocations, Phase 1 together with the Phase 2 are currently at 90% design phase, and once completed, construction will be handled by TxDOT. This portion, which also known as the West Segment, has a construction plan date to start in the fall of 2028. Southwest quadrant of Old Town Transit Waterline Replacement, as mentioned, also included a drainage portion. This specific project on this slide includes replacement of approximately 2 miles of water lines. Project has completed the design portion and will move to the bidding phase with estimated start of construction in the second quarter of 2026. This table shows the water projects currently in construction. From this list, I would like to mention some projects that were combined for better resource allocation, which are the McLean Water Production Rehabilitation, which was bid together with the Alice Water Treatment Plant Facility Project. We presented the Alice Water Treatment Plant Project on the last CIP update series under Parks and Facilities. And the Sherwood Water Line Replacement, which included the drainage and streets improvements project. McLean Water Production Facility is currently in construction and expected to be completed by fall of 2026. This project was enlisted due to numerous water line failures at the by the Public Works Department has experienced over the past several years. Most of the water line infrastructure at the production facilities are original to the facilities and have not been replaced since inception. The main goal of this project is the reduction of service interruptions. The 2018 assessment report identified each plant site and ranked McLean as a priority to address internal lines correct pump size for distribution, among other asset rehabilitation and replacement. This project was awarded by council in October and is expected to start construction either this month or January of the next year, and expected to be completed by the summer of 2027. Project includes drainage, water, streets, and sidewalk improvements. This list in front of you showcases projects that will be started in fiscal year 26. Council, a lot of these projects originated from the Water Master Plan recommendations. As you can see, there are a lot of projects that will start the design phase very soon. We already started professional contract negotiations with consulting firms for most of these projects and estimate bringing the contracts for your consideration and authorization is starting the next month. The Alice Elevated and Ground Storage Tank Rehabilitation Project includes the assessment of the ground storage tank, which is 5 million gallon storage capacity, and of the elevated storage tank, which is a 500,000 gallon storage capacity. Both are being planned for rehabilitation after the recommendations from the assessments. Since there is another project planned in the same location, we decided to combine this project with the Alice Water Treatment Plant, a new 5 million gallon ground storage tank. This decision will allow better resources allocation, coordination with Pearland Water, and savings to the city. These are the anticipated future projects, and they have not started design, study, or a schedule for future fiscal years. Here are the anticipated future water projects. They have not yet been funded, but are listed in the CIP for the purposes of financial planning, laying out what is needed, location, and timing for over the next 5 years. Projects such as Lakes Edgewater State's Water Quality Program, Liberty Drive and John Lizer Transit Water Pipe Water Line Replacement, Town Lanes Water Quality Program, and Alexander Landing line replacement have been recommended by City's Water Master Plan due to failing transit water lines that are being replaced with PVC piping. And here are additional anticipated future projects. Out of the future projects, I would like to highlight the Lakes of Edgewater State's Water Quality Program. This project is part of the city's multi-year improvement program to improve water quality by replacing aging water lines, increasing pipe diameter, and connecting dead-end lines. This project is planned to start design in fiscal year 30. This is another project that is being planned for future, which is estimated to have design start in fiscal year 29, and it has not yet been funded. The Liberty Drive John Lizer Transit Pipe Water Line Replacement is part of the city's commitment to replace existing transit pipe water lines. This project will replace approximately 1.5 miles of transit water line infrastructure in the John Lizer and Liberty Drive areas. The service lines will also be replaced. Council, this concludes the CIP water updates. I will now turn the presentation to Mr. Julian Kelly, Assistant Director of Utilities.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, and listening audience. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you this evening. As the Assistant Director of Utilities, it is my privilege to introduce to you the operations and maintenance update for our Pearland Water Division Department. Tonight, you'll hear directly from our management team, who will provide you with an overview of the essential functions and Pearland Water Systems operating and how we operate safely and effectively. As a quick reminder, our division has many different supporting staff and divisions together, but we have 3 core divisions that are part of our department. Water production, which ensures the safe and reliable drinking water supply that meets and exceeds regulatory standards that are set by the EPA and TCEQ. There's distribution and collections, which is responsible for delivering high quality water to our customers and efficiently managing and return of that wastewater from the treatment plants. And wastewater treatment, which handles the processing of domestic wastewater to protect our public health and ensure environmental safety and discharge. These functions all wrapped together are fundamental to our community's daily life and are a key focus of our capital improvement plan. The updates you'll hear today reflect the dedication of our staff and those that help us on a daily basis. Thank you, and at this time, we'll turn it over to Nicholas, the Supervisor of Water Production.
Thank you, Julian, and thank you, Mayor and City Council, for this opportunity. Pearland Water focuses on providing safe drinking water to our community in accordance with city's strategic priorities by managing O&M costs, evaluating system capacities to meet our growing needs, and meeting regulatory requirements. Our team depends on a variety of critical assets to ensure production, treatment, storage, and distribution of safe drinking water to the city's water system. Pearland Water maintains these assets through annual operational budgets and strategic CIP projects. Since the integration of the city's surface water treatment plant, Pearland Water is aiming to operationally reduce our annual budgetary requirements for our purchased water reliance. These sources will continue to be available when needed to meet our water system demands in the higher volume conditions. Our team will elaborate further on this later in the presentation. The city's diverse water supply provides the necessary production capabilities to continuously meet the water system's demand through all seasons presented along the Gulf Coast region. Our current water supply capacity is 40% from the Gulf Coast Aquifer, 37% from the Trinity River Basin, and 23% from the Brazos River Basin. With Pearland Water's combination of ground and elevated storage tanks, these storage tank supplies are replenished as the water system withdraws by consumption demand. Water storage tanks not only house the city's drinking water supply before being pumped for consumption, but they are also the most visible utility assets to the public. Pearland Water's continued investments into providing safe drinking water to the city's customers requires a multitude of functions to ensure these critical services. The Pearland Water and Capital Projects teams are currently updating our water master plan that will provide operational and developmental practices to ensure our commitment to our community is continuously met. Now I'd like to introduce our surface water treatment plant manager, Sean Gilmore.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for this opportunity to highlight the benefits of the largest water investment the city has completed to date. After 1 year of operation, the surface water treatment plant has accounted for 62% of all water consumption west of Cullen, herein referred to as the West End. This has led to a 68% reduction in well water pumpage and a 23% reduction in purchased water usage for the West End, particularly through the Shadow Creek water plant. While the average consumption for this area has increased 24%. The plant supplied an average of 5 million gallons per day over the year, with flows up to 8 million gallons per day during high peak. Not only accounting for the majority of water in the West End, but production output from the surface water plant also makes the Brazos River Basin, although the smallest basin, the majority drinking water source within Pearland Water since January of 2025. Even though the completion of the surface water treatment plant was delayed, population growth in Pearland was not. We are seeing the anticipated demands from the previous water master plan in population and need to take action to ensure our ability to consistently deliver high quality water as the population continues to grow. The surface water redundancy improvement enables more effective treatment of water at higher flows than 6.5 million gallons per day, with the addition of a fourth membrane rack. The additional membrane rack will allow one rack to remain in standby or maintenance mode at all times. This strategy ensures smooth maintenance activity transitions between racks and stable plant flows for optimum treatment. Now that we've discussed how our drinking water is made, I'll turn it over to our DNC Superintendent, David Kent, to discuss how our water moves throughout the city.
Thank you, Sean. Good evening, Mayor and Council, and thank you for the opportunity to share some highlights related to our distribution and collections division. This team is comprised of several services ranging from water and sewer line repairs, fire hydrant maintenance and replacement, water tap installation, and concrete restoration. Currently within the city, there's 572 miles of water main lines, 5,600 fire hydrants, 13,200 water valves, and 40,660 service connections. With the addition of the fire hydrant crew, the DNC team has increased up to 43 staff members. The team is tracking all inspections and repairs via city work orders, and the GIS data updates to make recommendations towards the CIP projects with valuable information. This slide illustrates the age of waterline construction within the community and highlights the increased age of infrastructure near and east of Main Street. This image also does a good job illustrating the newer infrastructure from essentially Old Town West. The city has approximately 72 miles of transite water line remaining within the distribution networks. While a common construction product in its time, transite pipe has a life expectancy of 50 to 70 years and extremely susceptible to failure and damages due to shifting soils and adjacent construction activities. During the CIP projects, the water main lines are being upgraded to PVC piping and additional fire hydrants for fire protection and mainline valves to help minimize isolation within the water system. Thank you for your time, and at this time, I'd like to turn it over to Mr. Epperson.
So that concludes water, so we'll pause here and answer any questions or any comments council has, and then we can move to wastewater.
I'm just, I'll start off with a couple. On the redundancy piece, was this something that we didn't anticipate when we built the plant, or did we understand it and maybe midstream and decided to wait till later?
I think the plant was designed to be a first phase 10 MGD, which running at full capacity with all the racks in there, you can, but to have that redundancy, if you take a rack down to be able to run at that, that was something that was identified as we worked through the project. And so the plant was planned to be expanded, so it's really just bringing in those additional racks. And of course, as everybody's aware, that's taken the tours, the plant is really expandable up to 20 MGD ultimately, and has a lot of those things in place.
Right. Slide 15, our Brita system over here. So has effectively, we had all the complaints out of Canterbury Park. Do we now get those complaints, and is this effectively taking care of that area?
Turn it over to Julian and his team to maybe respond to that.
I'll speak for Will and Nicholas and the Water Division team. We have definitely seen a decrease in those calls. It's very rare we get a call from that community. I know we remember that type of scrutiny we were under, but now we do see people smiling and no one saying anything negative about that water in that area.
Good deal. Thank you for that. Slide 17. Okay, so mentioned 90+ thousand over, and we were talking about the project manager left. There's some things that so my question was, did we do a lessons learned here to be able to catch this, in other projects that maybe we missed something?
So I think maybe we need to define what that overage really was. It wasn't that we awarded a construction contract and we went over that. Is my understanding, it was maybe from the original budget that was put together.
No, these projects did not finish over budget.
Okay.
They finished within their budget, including the allocated grant funds.
So I think that just refers back to the original budget numbers that were put together, and then as those numbers we became aware of what those were going to be as we worked through the project and bid them out, they didn't actually go over what we'd allocated.
Okay. I think you answered the other stuff that I already had written down, so I'll turn it over to council for questions, comments. Ms. Kate?
Is the transite water pipe, is it dangerous?
Old and brittle.
If it's old and brittle, it is?
Yeah. No, not that it's dangerous, it's old and brittle.
It's not dangerous. It's what drives it's where most of our water main breaks are that cause all of the, when we have to respond to those during the day, over the nights, over the weekends, which see if the majority of those are all with the transite areas. I think the other thing is some of those areas, as was mentioned, some of those areas don't have the size of water lines that we minimally require now so that you can have full fire flows in those areas, and then we're able to go in and add the additional fire protection as well when we redo those neighborhoods.
And Wood Creek, we had complaints about our water quality in the past, and it is really good now. So thank y'all for that. And thank you for the presentation also. It was really, really thorough and good. Thank y'all.
Questions, comments? Mr. Koza?
Thank you, Mayor. Trent, just to kind of piggyback on that last comment you made on the, as the transite pipe has been replaced, I've noticed in Green Tea that we have more fire hydrants than we had before. Is that where you're talking about the fire flows, or?
I would assume that's part of that detailed design. When we go in those areas and retrofit, we bring them up to current standards. Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. And then on slide mark 38, it's got kind of the usage of what we've had, I guess, from surface water versus on these numbers right here on the left. Is that hundreds of thousands? Is that what that notation is?
300, 250, 200.
I mean, the reason I say that is a couple slides before it, it's got trillions on slide 34 as far as total water for the annual. And so I was wondering if that was hundreds of thousands per month.
So the y-axis is going to be millions per month. So I guess the first one in October of 24 is about 180 million gallons
Okay.
a month.
Okay, so it's millions is what you're saying. Okay.
Correct.
All right. So when we look at 25, where we come in, our groundwater production is considerably, I'd say maybe 30% of what it used to be. That'd be kind of a rough guesstimate, just looking at it. So
Correct. The reduction in groundwater was 68% on the west end.
Okay. All right. So not too far off.
And just to clarify, this just depicts the west end, which I believe is west of 288 or west of Cullen.
West of Cullen.
West of Cullen.
Okay. All right. I was just curious, just looking at what was coming out of the ground versus what we've got coming from the surface. So, all right. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Mr. Carbone?
Thank you, Mayor. On that WA 2607, the redundancy piece, when you look at the, I guess the flows coming out of the surface water treatment plant on average, we're not hitting 6.5 yet. So I guess the question is, I guess, more on timing. And when you look at the rate model and the increase in rate coming next year, is this a must-have or a nice-to-have? And what would it look like if we push this out a year or two to give us some relief on the rate?
So there's about 625,000, give or take, for every 1% on the rate. So if you move this out into the future, that would have maybe a 2 to 4% impact on the rate, roughly.
So what years is this scheduled for? So we know what years that will potentially help out.
I believe they said design is in 26 and then construction potentially next year.
Okay.
So is this impacting the 9.5% that's in the follow-up year? I know we've got the one, so.
So this is potentially one we can look at, every year as we get into the budget, we start looking at what projects are absolutes and which ones are, things that we can potentially push to make sure that we're managing that rate as well as possible. So I think this is one that we would take a look at seriously.
Yeah, I think looking at the flows, I don't remember what slide that was, but overall doesn't look like we're getting anywhere close to that 6.5 million. So if we've got some time, I think it might make sense to look further at pushing it out.
And I think that this summer will really help us take a look at that. I think I remember what Sean said. We've peaked out at around 8.
Correct. Over the summer, we peaked out around 8. Average is 5 for the year, but that's also including October, November, December, right? So currently, even the winter months, you're going to run 4 to 5. The majority of the time, you're running about 6, and then in the winter or in the summer, you'll run 8 for a while. You'll run 7 a lot, and then occasionally you'll hit 9.
One thing I'll add, Member Carbone, it's important to remember that this plant was designed to be online 3, maybe 4 years before it actually was. It was thought that it will design, and this was always anticipated as a need, future need. It's just future was in 3 to 5 years after the plant started up 3 or 4 years ago, which it did not happen. So we started full throttle, and yes, we've had 7.5, 8 million gallons a day pushing through that plant. This is to get out in front of it. Even as they mentioned, it's going to take a couple of years to get this done, even should it be approved as a CIP. So the intent is to. While I think the way Sean put it, and I want to have him say it because he says it with such eloquence, that even though the plant was delayed in startup, the population growth was not delayed, and so he put it better than that. But so this is an effort to get out in front of the demand so that we don't get behind the 8 ball, so to speak, in the coming years.
Yeah, it's also got in the summer because I found this slide. I guess slide 34. It looks like surface water's a couple million gallons per day. Maybe that's on average, and it's a bad chart. But if the redundancy is for when surface water hits 6.5 million gallons per day, looks like some point in the future is correct. But is that point now?
I think a lot of light will be shown on it with the water master plan, which is, as mentioned previously. And just to point out, slide 34, those are annual, which, as Sean pointed out, includes all months, including the winter months where the demand is much lower.
I will say, while you have this slide up real quick, it's nice to see real close to a third in that 2025 graphic. Which was always the goal when we transitioning. That's a good thing. Mr. Carbone, that end? Okay. Mr. Byron?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Couple of things back on slide 9. I guess it was slide 8, page 9 of our projects. Yeah, 8. There we go. Talking about the rate model moving out into the future. If I'm reading this correctly, going to 28, 29, 30, we're looking at a bond ratio in excess of the required 1.15. So is that an area we can look at as well to possibly bring that rate down?
So
Go ahead, Rachel.
in those future years, the rate increase is really being driven by the reserve requirement. And while they're kind of interlocked together, so we're driving both of them as low as we can, but the lower we drive the bond covenant ratio in the future years, the less of the reserve requirement we meet. So if you look at the years 28 through 30, we're barely meeting that reserve requirement, and that's really what's driving it in those years.
Okay, so if we push that bond ratio closer to 1.15, if I'm understanding you, we're going to get under our 15% reserve requirement.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
we have to meet both of those metrics each year. Yes, sir.
We got to be careful there. Okay, appreciate that. On, I guess it would be slide 19. Looking at the right thing here. Yeah, that one. So on the 518 utility relocation phase 1, we've got a projected start for construction for fall of 28. And for the southwest quadrant of Old Town, we have it projected in Q2 of 26. Can we get a projected construction start on the other projects on here? We only talked about the first one and the last one. Not necessarily right now, if you could just send that out so we have an idea of how quickly those are going to move from design into construction.
Yes, I can do that.
Okay, thank you very much.
So
And
I want to make sure I understood that question. So you're on this slide wanting to know when we move from completing design into construction?
I'll give you an example. So if you go to the next slide, here it says that phase one is going to begin construction fall of 28. The next slide goes to the southwest quadrant, says construction expected Q2 of 26.
Okay.
I'm just looking for the same information for the other projects listed that are completing design.
Okay.
There was 2 or 3 other projects on there.
Yeah, I mean, we can assume that when we complete design, we're moving towards bidding and construction. So construction is typically going to be, run about 3 months for the bidding process and the award process, and then construction would start. So, but we can add that in the future as
And the
well.
difference on the 518 is TxDOT's doing the construction.
Okay. Right. So that's all I was looking for there. And then on the last thing, I know we talked a little bit about this on the water quality side of things, slide 16. And we focused a little bit on some projects not necessarily going as well as we had hoped financially, but I want to make sure that we also, I'm sorry, back one more, slide 15. Also right there, 2025, that was a big project, and kudos to you guys for getting it done, dealing with the hurdles, and still bringing it in under budget. We tend to harp on when things go over budget, but we also need to celebrate when things happen well and come in under budget. So thank you guys and the hard work that you did on that. Appreciate it.
Mr. Fernandez?
Thank you, Mayor. Just one more question regarding the surface water redundancy improvement project. What was the estimated cost on that?
3.95 million.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Hang on a second. Mr. Patel, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Hey, Trent, on slide number 34, and please forgive me, I can't remember, but when we're buying water, we're buying it from Houston, and my understanding was the production cost was a lot lower to purchase that water than the one we're, I guess, making out there on the west side. Is that correct?
So I think when we look at the purchase water, there's 2 different agreements we have, and one of them is the purchase of the 10 million gallons per day out of Houston Southeast plant. We're a co-participant through GCWA, so we actually paid the capital cost for that plant expansion. So that purchased water is very cost effective. It's actually less than what we are able to produce at our surface water plant. And so that water is very cost effective. Where we've reduced that purchase water amount is the take point out on 521, the Shadow Creek Ranch take point. That's where we pay a much higher rate, City of Houston, because we were not a capital investor in the plant for that. So that is what we saw reduced significantly on the other slide. Our current contract with Houston has a minimum take or pay amount, and we've been able to run that down and take just the minimal amount that we would pay for whether we took it or not under that contract. But we've been able to keep that from going above that, which we start to pay a premium rate if we go above that take or pay amount. So with the new surface water plant, we've been able to reduce that FM 521 purchased water. But we'll always rely upon, and it's very cost effective for us to rely upon the Alice Street water connection to the Houston Southeast plant.
So I guess for me, if you don't mind, if you guys can in the future kind of give us a breakdown of the cost that's coming through, running at the $10 million or 6.5 million gallons from the plant that we're running and comparing it to the 6 million we're getting from Houston on the 521 section. I guess what I'm trying to say is, for me, I just want to see whether it's, if we have extra capacity. I know in the past we talked about selling some of our water, and if we're going to spend and expand. I believe somewhere I heard that we could go up to 20 million gallons on the new plant, if that's the case. And I guess how much growth is really left on the west side of town, and how much land is left if we can consider selling some of this water, right, to kind of compensate our taxpayers, to say, hey, we can sell this water and kind of bring our costs down. So I think it's a long-term goal, but I think it's a goal that this council should consider, kind of play around with the numbers to say, where can we bring this down for long-term? Because, I mean, if we're only using 6.5 million gallons, we got 3.5 million we're just sitting on wasting. And the fixed costs are gonna still be there, right? The labor to run that plant is still there. What does it take to ramp it up to 10 million, and what can we do with that water? So I think that's a future cost, and I know we can talk about it during our planning session, but just a thought.
So just to kind of put in perspective, when it would be most appropriate to talk about that, as was mentioned in this presentation, we're working through the water master plan. And that water master plan will help us, take a look at what we have, the growth we have seen and the projections on what we do need. And, under TCEQ rules, we do have to have a certain amount of capacity in our system, whether we're using that or not. So you can't necessarily just sell it. But in the last go around looking at our water master plan, there is potentially an opportunity if we do expand the plant to 20, where we could bring partners in on that. So, but of course that comes with a pretty significant capital cost as well. So you would have to look to those partners probably to potentially do that, or have the arrangement to where what we get paid for that would pay those capital costs as well. But we'll have a clearer picture of that when we complete the update to the water model. The last water model also, had identified a need for potentially additional water on the east side of town. And so one of our options for getting that additional water on this side of town is bringing it from our surface water plant. So we'll work through all those things when we complete the water model. Do we know when the water model's scheduled to be completed? I don't see Raj, or David, no?
Yeah, in calendar year 27.
Okay. So that starts this year in FY26. Okay,
Correct.
yeah, so we're just starting that water model update. That'll be done then, and we'll really be able to start to take a look at those kind of things.
Ms. Kate?
Trent, just real quick, why is the Sherwood project so much more than the others? Just the extent of work, or it's on, I forgot, I lost the
It's
spot.
because they're doing roads, drainage, and water.
I was gonna say, I think it's more than just a place.
Does that include all the infrastructure?
Includes drainage and sidewalks improvements, drain street improvements.
So it does all the paving in there, water line, sidewalk, and storm sewer updates? Yeah.
It's probably the storm, yeah, it's all of it, local streets, water line, sidewalk, and storm sewer.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments on this portion before we move on? Seeing none, we'll move on to the next section.
We'll now look at the wastewater projects that have been completed. They're under design and construction, the ones starting in fiscal year 26, as well as anticipated future projects. At the end of the wastewater presentation, we'll open up for questions. This table is a snapshot of the recently approved budget amounts for the fiscal year 2026 capital improvement program and the projected totals for fiscal years 27 through 30. Overall, the 5-year program totals out to approximately $111 million, I'm sorry. Council, as I mentioned previously, the fiscal year 26 represents the budget approved by council. Future year budgets are listed for financial planning purposes and can be increased or decreased depending on city needs, council's directions, and funding availability. This slide includes projects with water and wastewater funding rates. Keep in mind that as we start developing the next 5-year capital improvement program, the recommended projects for fiscal year 27 will be the ones that will impact the water and wastewater rates for fiscal year 28 and so forth. We have completed 7 projects in 2025. 3 of the projects included lift station rehabs. Council, you remember our recent walkthrough to the JHAC facility. This project expanded the existing facility from 4 million gallons per day of treatment capacity to 6 million gallons per day. Although project experienced some challenges because rehabilitation and replacement work was being done while the existing plant had to be in operation, project remained under budget and will be completed by the end of this year with minor items to be addressed. The sanitary sewer rehab project within Berry Rose Basins was identified from the city's wastewater master plan with high infiltration and inflow through flow monitoring. This project is estimated to be completed by the end of this year. As mentioned in the previous slide, we completed 3 lift stations projects in 2025. The Autumn Lakes was one of these projects and received full rehabilitation of its assets. This project was completed successfully and approximately $730,000 under budget. And here's the list of the projects that are currently in design. The FM 518 utility relocations, as presented earlier, has also a water portion, has been combined with the phase 2 of this project, which represents the east segment. The utility relocation, except for the lift station relocation, will be together with the transportation project and will be constructed by TxDOT's contractor as part of the advanced agreement, funding agreement with City and TxDOT. The utility relocation phase 1 and 2 will be funded partially by PEDC, City, and TxDOT. And as you can see, we have multiple lift station projects, which again, we have combined for better resource allocation. The sanitary sewer rehab within Longwood basins have also been combined for better resource allocation. We have several wastewater projects in construction ranging from $203,000 to $200 million. The highest budget expense being the Berry Rose Water Reclamation Facility expansion and Longwood Water Reclamation Facility decommissioning projects, which you will see on the next slides. In addition to those significant projects, we are rehabilitating multiple lift stations throughout the city, as you can see on the next slide. Macawa Road sewer relocation had construction completed recently. Project was completed ahead of schedule and under budget. Here are additional projects that are currently in construction. Berry Rose Water Reclamation Facility expansion and decommissioning, which has been combined with the Longwood Water Reclamation Facility decommissioning, make up for the largest project the city has undertaken. The project includes expansion of the existing Berry Rose plant from 3.1 MGD to a permitted treatment capacity of 5 million gallons per day. This will allow the decommissioning of the Longwood Water Reclamation Facility. The effluent currently going to Longwood will then be diverted to Berry Rose through the Longwood lift station and force main, which will also be constructed as part of this project. The photo on this slide shows site construction from November. As you know, we broke ground on Berry Rose in July of 2024 and construction is ongoing. City is utilizing the construction manager at risk delivery method. The CMAR advertised work packages as they were ready. This allowed equipment of long lead items and certain construction to start first, while other packages were under design. City Council already authorized the approval of the 3 packages named GMP 1, 2, and 3, which was authorized last by City Council in November of this year, and conducted the design phase and concluded the design phase of these projects. Work associated with the GMP 1 and 2 have started, and the work associated with GMP 3 will start early in 2026. Construction on this project is expected to be completed by the second quarter of 2028. Currently, project remains under budget and on schedule. Council, these pictures are from a visit to the Berry Rose Water Reclamation Facility construction site. We invited other department divisions that otherwise would not have a chance to visit a construction site, let alone of this magnitude. The photo on the left are courageous staff by engineering, capital projects, and BMO that followed us by climbing the sequential batch reactors, or SBRs. And on the right side, here we are again, but now looking at the construction of the influent lift station. Here are several projects that will be started in this fiscal year. These projects are part of the utilities plan to address capacity issues due to city's growth, aging infrastructure, and infiltration and inflow issues. As you can see on the list, we are also planning on updating city's wastewater master plan. We'll look at the city's wastewater system as a whole to provide an update onto the existing master plan and recommendations, which can lead to new wastewater projects. In the CIP plan, there is also multiple lift station rehab projects that include rehabilitation and replacement of various assets. And here are additional projects included in fiscal year 26, including an asset management plan for its existing wastewater reclamation facilities. There are several projects anticipated for future years. These projects have not been funded yet. The ones anticipated for fiscal year 27 will be presented to Council for consideration and approval during our upcoming CIP process in the next year. As you can see, There are several lift stations once again and a couple of wastewater lines rehabilitation projects, which staff will look at the possibility of combining projects for better resource allocation and to minimize residents' inconveniences. Here, additional future projects. And council, this concludes the CIP wastewater updates. I will now turn the presentation to Mr. David Kent, City's Distribution and Collection System Superintendent.
Thank you, Fabiola. Now I'd like to share some highlights related to our collection side of the distribution collections team. The team is comprised of several services ranging from cleaning and televising of the sanitary sewer lines to manhole inspections for deteriorations, sinkhole investigations. Within the city, there is 471 miles of sanitary sewer lines, 11,607 sanitary sewer manholes, which provide opportunities to allow inflow and infiltration into our system for treatment. In major rain events, this I&I often leads to surcharge systems, backups, increased treatment, and sanitary sewer overflows. Within the Berry Rose and Longwood basins, a robust program for I&I has been kicked off. Studies of the system and flow monitoring to smoke testing, as well as televising the line to identify deficiencies within the system. Inflow is defined as a surface water that enters the wastewater system from open cleanouts, yard drains, cross connections with storm sewers, and through the holes in the manhole covers. Infiltration, on the other hand, is excess water that seeps, trickles, or flows into old or damaged sanitary sewer systems from the surrounding soils. In closing, several areas of consideration to improve on or expand our services as we advance through the next years include continue leveraging the CIP process to reduce inflow and infiltration, further a manhole rehabilitation program, leverage contractual repair services such as pipe bursting and manhole rehab. With that, thank you again for your time. I'd like to turn it over to Wastewater Division, Mr. Jay Jones.
Thank you, Kent. Good evening, Mayor and Council. Our wastewater division is made up of 13 highly dedicated professionals who take pride in providing safe, efficient treatment for the city. Tonight, we'll touch on our system capacity, provide a map overview, and highlight how recent zone reductions are helping improve reliability and service delivery. Our wastewater system is designed to treat up to 18.5 MGD on average. We treat around 3.2 billion gallons a year. This slide shows the current layout of our wastewater service zones, which each zone directing flow to one of our 5 treatment plants. Because of Pearland's flat land, we rely on a large number of lift stations to move flow throughout the system. While the system works, having this many zones and lift stations increases the complexity of our operations, maintenance, and long-term costs. Through the recent capital improvement projects we've been working on to streamline the system by reducing the number of zones and improving flow paths. And on the next slide, we'll show you what those changes look like, how they're improving in the overall efficiency and the reliability of our wastewater operations. We have now streamlined our wastewater system into 4 main zones. This reduces the complexity, improves the flow efficiency, and lowers the maintenance needs. Fewer zones mean better use of our plants and lift station and more reliable service for our community. This change helps us manage and growth to keep the system running smoothly now and in the future. Thank you for your support as we continue improving Pearland's wastewater operations. I'll now like to turn it over to Carlos, our manager. Sorry.
Thank you, Mayor and Council, for this opportunity to speak to you today regarding the newly established Asset Reliability Division and the role it'll play in the future CIP endeavors. The asset management team will consist of the Asset Reliability Manager, Maintenance Coordinator, 4 plant mechanics, and an Instrument and Controls Coordinator, and 2 Instrument and Controls Specialists. The lift station team will also fall under the umbrella of the team, which will consist of the lift station's maintenance supervisor and 6 utility maintenance technicians. An asset reliability team turns infrastructure maintenance from a reactive cost center cost center into a strategic advantage, enhancing safety, sustainability, and economic performance. Our goals are to build an accurate asset registry within CityWorks to ensure assets are being tracked and recorded properly, to conduct asset inventory and condition assessments for all assets that are being monitored, establish preventative and predictive maintenance programs, and to be able to track them within CityWorks, standardizing work processes, reliability matrix so that there's no deviations from the high standards that we expect, provide training for support and operation teams, using data and technology for smarter decision-making in the future of CIP projects, using information from condition assessment reports to forecast future issues and prevent them from becoming larger issues. Our priorities and impact for fiscal year 26 are to reduce unplanned downtime due to asset failure and to be able to predict that lifespan. Also anticipating cost savings through efficient maintenance plans, ensuring the lifespan of assets is increased and not having to be replaced as often. By completing baseline assessments of all critical assets, we will be able to identify predictive maintenance schedules and prioritize the highest needed systems. As we improve the information we enter into CityWorks, we will be able to track performance, ensuring accurate assets of future CIP projects. Our lift station team exemplifies the always at work philosophy of wastewater operations. Managing 71 wastewater and 7 stormwater lift stations requires monitoring of these wells 24/7 to ensure uninterrupted transport to treatment facilities. Performance, predictive, and preventive maintenance to avoid costly breakdowns and emergency repairs. Using programs such as SCADA and to better allocate our resources. The team's efforts are vital to keeping wastewater systems running smoothly day and night. Their proactive approach reduces service disruptions, protects public health, and supports the long-term sustainability of Pearland's wastewater infrastructure. Wastewater operations is not just about maintaining the status quo, it's about anticipating the future, solving problems before they arise, and ensuring that Pearland's residents, businesses are always served by a dependable system. Thank you for recognizing our ongoing dedication of our teams and the crucial role that they play in our city's success. This concludes the wastewater O&M portion of the presentation. At this time, I'd like to transfer it back, presentation back to City Manager Trent Epperson.
Back to you, Mayor and Council.
All right, we'll open it up for questions, comments from council. Anybody have anything? Mr. Koza?
Thank you, Mayor. Back on slide 57 and 59, there was some lift station rehabs. When we look, I had some inquiries on the green tea side of it. On 57, there's one that says rehabilitation, and on 59, one says rehabilitation, and the next one just says lift station. Is that a rehabilitation as well, or is that what's the second one up there?
I think it's rehabilitation as well.
Okay, because I know back during Burrell, we had some issues with the wastewater facilities out there in the regards of we were having to come out and vacuum it out and deal with it. I don't know if that was due to generator failures or what, but I had several citizens inquiry with me about why we were seeing the trucks in there on a regular basis. Is this going to help that process, or what is exactly in a rehabilitation, I guess is what I'm trying to ask.
So what we're doing right now, we are trying to look at these. There are 3 projects right now planned to be done at Green Tea. We're trying to look at as the 3 projects and see what we can do. Either combine as to one lift station and decommission some of the lift stations. So we're looking at all that. So at this time, the 3 were planned for rehabilitation, but we're looking at the possibility to see if we can consolidate these lift stations.
Okay, so basically we'd be looking at what's the right way to approach it, and then if it needs to, then we'd rehabilitate 3 or combine.
Correct.
Okay, and during the Burrell, I guess, aftermath, do you know if the vacuum trucks come into the neighborhood on a regular basis, if that was due to generator failures or if there was other issues?
I don't know.
Member Koza and council, during Barrow, every lift station was without power. And we have, Carlos, correct me if I'm wrong, I think 5 or 6 portable generators that we can deploy to key lift stations. Though, other than those, the only option was to have a tanker truck empty the wet well at a frequency sufficient to prevent overflow.
Yeah, no, that's what I was just.
It was power failure.
Okay, that's what I was wanting to know because I had questions about it, and that's what I was just trying to be able to get some answers back. So
It was power failure and no genset on site for those.
makes sense. All right, thank you.
Just to round that out, we do evaluate those from a standpoint of which ones should get generators when we do rehabilitations, and it's really based upon the size of the lift station, the amount of area affected by it, and whether or not it's something that's manageable without a generator there during a widespread power outage. So as you've seen, a lot of these lift stations rehabilitations come before you, the construction contracts for those. A lot of those have included the gen sets for them so that we can operate those. And then the smaller ones, they're set up to bring in those portable generators.
Okay, thank you. Like I said, it was curious and more needing information to share. Thank you.
Mr. Carbone?
Thank you, Mayor. If you go to slide 67, I know there's been some discussion, but where are we at in terms of moving the south down flows to, I guess, Reflection Bay or somewhere else? It seems like it's not very efficient to have one plant of that size.
I think it's in the CIP out in the future years. I can't remember how far out we moved it.
Yeah, I think we moved it a little bit far out. We just finished the preliminary engineering report that came up with recommendations on the route for the force main.
I think that was one of the ones we were looking at from a timing standpoint and how to help manage the water and sewer rates as to when we do it. But it is on the plan to ultimately do that.
And that's going to Reflection Bay?
Yes, sir.
Correct.
All right. And then at some point, we'll need to update this for the new force main at Smith Ranch because that flows over to Reflection Bay.
With the PID project? Yeah. All right. Any other questions, comments? All right. Staff have any wrap-up?
Any wrap up? No. Appreciate the time, Mayor and Council. Great job by the team. It's great to be able to sit down and kind of walk through these projects and what's coming up and where we are periodically. So as part of the ongoing process, because we'll be rolling into our strategic planning in early 2026, which leads to early budget input and all these things impact and are part of that process. So thank you.
Yeah, I just want to, David, thank you to you and your team, everybody in the participation today. You got a great leadership group there, so I appreciate all the input and presentations for the day. So, it's a big system, and I like the asset reliability, side of things, because if it goes down, phone rings, and so when it's working, and nobody's having to call to complain about it, that's a good thing. That's a good sign. So I like the asset reliability side of things. It hopefully heads off more problems than we end up with long term. So I'm glad that's a program that we started. I know that was a budget consideration a year ago, I think it was, in the water and wastewater, on bringing that team on board now versus maybe waiting a little bit. So, be good in the days and years to come, see the benefits of that. So, all right, with that, we will move to adjournment on this docketed workshop at 5:09.